Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and show me some love and hit the like button. Today we're going to make French toast casserole. Here are your ingredients. For this recipe, I chose to use brioche bread. I also had some heavy whipping cream, 5 eggs, vanilla extract. Of course, I had to add some cinnamon and some maple syrup and some whole milk, which you can use whatever milk you want. But the real deal was the rum chata. The first thing you're going to do is get your loaf and prepare it for the casserole dish. As you can see, it already comes kind of in a loaf form, and what you're going to do first is spray down your casserole dish. I chose to use butter spray, but you can definitely use olive oil or something a little more healthy. And then I chopped up the pieces of bread using a knife. You can certainly do so breaking it up with your hands, but just make sure the casserole dish definitely has enough space for all of the pieces of bread. You don't want to get something that's very shallow. Then in a separate bowl, you're going to prepare the custard. Of course, I want you to do your eggs first. You're going to break them apart and whisk them together. And then from there, add all the other ingredients. Now, for my purposes, I liked everything to be all mixed in, and then I added the rum chata. That's because when I'm making this recipe, it's not always adults that are eating it. So I add the alcohol last so I don't add it first and forget. Okay, next we're going to take the mix and then we're going to cover the pieces of bread with the mix. Do so very carefully and slowly. First of all, so you don't make a mess, but also because we want the bread to start soaking up the mixture. Then, just to be sure, I usually take a baking spatula and make sure all of the bread is covered by the mixture that I just put in there. And from there, you're going to cover it with saran wrap and refrigerate it overnight. Now, if you're really in a pinch, you should at least wait about 2 to 3 hours and enough time for the bread to soak up the mix all the way. But I'm telling you, this recipe works best if it's done with at least overnight setting because it lets the liquid soak completely up and it's almost solid when you get it out of the refrigerator. It has been a wonderful night, and I am waking up in the morning to see my wonderful casserole, and it is solid. As you can see, I'm shaking the casserole dish, and even though you can see the mixture, it is completely solid. The bread has soaked up all that goodness, and now it's time to prepare the topping. For the topping, we are going to use cinnamon, flour, and brown sugar. And I like to mix those together before I add in the butter. So I whisk that all together and make sure it's mixed throughout. The flour is actually going to change color, of course, once you add the brown sugar, and it's going to look a little bit like gingerbread and it's going to smell amazing. The brown sugar is not going to break up a lot, and that's okay because we're creating a crumbly type of topping. Then we're going to add our cold butter. Make sure your butter is cold. I use a pastry cutter, but you can definitely use a fork. It's not going to be smooth. You want this to be very crumbly, and then you're going to take it and add it to the top of the casserole. This part is kind of tricky. You want to add the crumbly topping to the top, but you do not want to mix it together. It is literally just the top layer of the casserole, and this is because we're creating that crusty top, but the bottom itself is, of course, soft. Then you're going to cover your casserole dish with aluminum foil, and your oven should have been preheated to 350, but you're going to bake it covered for 20 to 25 minutes. Then after that, you're going to take off the aluminum foil and bake for another 20 to 25 minutes. And when it comes out, it's going to be nice and crusty on the top. You'll notice that it's bubbling and it looks amazing. You can use the toothpick test because the custard can sometimes take a while to clearly bake so it's solid, especially when you're using something like brioche bread. But you'll see it was nice and solid and soft when I took it out of the oven. I actually ended up cooking it a little bit longer because I wanted it to be super solid on the inside. But after about 5 minutes, as you can see, it was perfect. Comment down below and let me know how much you enjoyed this recipe when you try it. And if you do something besides from Chata, let me know. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. Talk to you next time. Bye, friend.